So if you come down here and you take a look, this actually has a load cell pocket or a slot right down here. You've got a bolt hole piece so you can stick your bolt in. Sometimes when you take a look at a load cell, there's going to be a long part and there's going to be a short part. Sometimes the long part needs to go in here, sometimes the short one needs to go in. So one of the things you'll need to do is you'll need to contact your dealer, your OEM, and ask them, how does that load cell need to slide in there? Is it the long part first or is it the short part? Most of these 1,000 bushel grain carts are set up for a 5-point system. Some of them are set up from the factory as 3-point. There are options to convert 3 points to 5 points. Typically though, if it's a load cell ready and it's supposed to be a 5-point, you'll have these pockets here. Now, if this was a 3-point system, you'd actually have a spindle axle or a spindle load cell. If you've got spindle load cells and it's a 3-point system, you'll basically pull the blanks out and then you're gonna have to reseat bearings. You'll make sure everything's all greased up, reseat the bearing on that spindle, and then insert the spindle and attach the tire. With this system that we've got here today, all we're gonna have to do is put load cells in, put brackets, and essentially separate the top part of the grain cart from the axle on the bottom, and then you're going to see some space in between the axle and the frame. But that's okay. That's what we want. We want everything resting on those load cells. All right, so we've got here is we've got the frame jacked up. I mean, we are still connected to the tractor on the front hitch. We've got the frame pushed up with the 2 jacks here, so that way we can put the load cells and the brackets in on both sides. What you want to see is, if you can look down here, we've actually got separation. Right now what we're doing is we're keeping the bolts in to try to keep the axle relatively level. The lock washers and the nuts are off, but we still got the bolts in. We don't really need that much wiggle room, maybe about an inch or so, to get the bracket here underneath with the load cell. If you come over here, you can see we've got the brackets already been put in. So the 4 nuts and bolts on this J&M cart that would be attached to the frame, 2 on this side, 2 on the back side. We do not need those. What you're gonna see is you will see space. Again, maybe an 1.5 inch space in between the axle and the frame, but these brackets with the load cells is what takes up that extra slack. We want everything resting on the brackets and the load cells. We do not want it necessarily resting directly on the frame. This is a precision machined piece of steel that's got the Wheatstone bridge that's on the inside of this load cell. So what we're going to do is we're going to grease the long end and we're going to put it inside the slot, which is down here. And there's going to be a pin and a hole, a pin here for the load cell and a matching pin on the back side of that bracket. So Alex, you want to get me some grease? So you use just some general multi-purpose, grease. Basically what it does is allows it to make it nice and easy to get the load cell in the slot and to make sure that there isn't any rust that forms on it. It's not bad that there's rust on it, but if you ever have a load cell that goes bad, then it makes it a little bit more difficult to go in and replace it. So what we'll do now is we've got, on this one, we've got a little bit longer bolt that's got a lock nut, and that's all that's going to be required to hold that inside the bracket. So that's where the pivot point's going to be. So now what we're going to do is we're going to grease the back side of this. Get some more grease out of my tube here, and then we're going to put the bracket on. It doesn't have to be completely snugged down. We'll snug this down once we have the bracket basically bolted down with the lock washers and the regular nuts.